So this is the third video, and this is where we started the process of design thinking and walking the participants through it. So the way we presented the process to them is that design thinking has, the approach we use is that it has 4 key steps in the process. And you would, if you Google design thinking, you'll find so many different steps with so many different phrases and very cute words and stuff, but we're sticking to words that our participants will be familiar with. So we use research, analysis, ideation, and prototyping. And we say that these 4 phases, if you will, or stages, live on a line with 3 milestones, right? So if this is a line, milestone number 1 is where you reframe your problem, and then in the middle here is where you come up with a point of view, and then at the end here is where you come up with a solution. So when you've reframed your problem, you do research, analysis, and then when you found your point of view, you do ideation and prototyping to get to the solution. So this is how we presented it. And so the first phase, of course, is reframing the problem. And what we think about it is this, that because design thinking is about taking a systems perspective, the way we state the problem should allow us to sort of get systems level data, right? So Tina Sealing of Stanford wrote a book, Ingenious, in which she talks about 2 types of frames, right? So think about systems perspective and think of these 2 frames. 5 plus 5 equals 10. And then the second frame is 2 numbers that add up to 10. Which one gives you more of a wider range that allows you to collect more information? Of course, 2 numbers that add up to 10. You can put in so many things. So we want whatever question the participant or our trainer has to be reframed in a systems perspective. And the trick we use is that we use the word how, H-O-W, to start the question. So if the participant's interest is in coming up with an education tool that helps people pass exams, instead of going out and asking what education tools or what education tool will better serve people or help them pass exams, for the reframing of the problem, we use the word how, and then we restructure the question, right? So the question will be, how do people learn to pass exams? And if you want to get a little more specific, you can choose a target market and say, how do high school students learn to pass exams, right? And because you put how in front of the question, when you go out, you're looking for process level data, right? You're looking for steps, right? If you didn't use how and you used what, then you're going to get finite answers. So we really push them to frame questions and sub-questions that use the word how in the beginning. And it's not how much is something. You're asking it to get a process, you know, for the respondent to talk to you about a process, step by step. Because the idea is that this is how you get data, or good data from the respondents, if they are talking through their experiences and they are talking through their behavior as around the problem, right? And the idea is that if you do this and you do this well, then you're getting that systems perspective. You're talking to other stakeholders in the problem space because you're asking the question, how? And your sub-questions are also based on how. So at this point, the participants took time and wrote down and tried to get their how questions and get them right. You know, so that was what we did for problem reframing. And of course, it's important to note that when you reframe your problem, you make sure that it's not too big and it's also not too small, right? And that's why in that example we use how do people learn, right, to pass exams, rather than, you know, focusing on what little books they use or tools they use. You want the whole process, and we're also not looking too big to say how do all students, right? We narrowed it down a little bit to the target group. So it's important that when you reframe the problem, that it's what we call a helicopter view just below the clouds, right? So that you can still see the target on the ground, and it's not a very spy plane view which is way above the clouds and your view is obscured